Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by GeneralsJoes Reborn.com with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic 80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick Notpicard Stewart. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. You all know what it is, but does Pat?
I do. I always do. It's the Full Force Weekly.
There it is. I just changed it slightly to see how you'd react, and you did not disappoint. Buddy, how's it going?
Well, okay. Busy week for me, but yeah, it's going all right. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Actually, I say it's been a chill week in G.I. Joe, and it's kind of been a chill week in general. Like I haven't been able to focus on anything. It's been really weird. It's like I woke up on Monday morning and just couldn't get my head in the game. And I still, to this day, haven't managed it. I don't know what's going on. Just absolute, it's weird. And then we have this week where it looked like there was going to be no news whatsoever. So I'm kind of thinking, what are we going to talk about? What could we do? We could maybe do something slightly different. And then it all dropped over about 2 days. So we've got a few things to chat about. But yeah, very weird headspace right now.
Yeah, I've had weeks like that. This week I've been a little more having to focus, getting some things done. But yeah, I've been there.
I want to know if it's the same for everybody watching or if it's just me right now. But yeah, it's been an odd one this week. Anyway, we do have news, and let's get stuck into that first one, which is in Diamond Select Toys news. Yes, Diamond Select Toys have revealed their second G.I. Joe Legends in 3D limited edition half-scale bust, and this time we are getting the shiny-headed weapons supplier, Destro. This follows on from their first Legends in 3D bust of Storm Shadow revealed earlier this year, and looks absolutely superb. He is rocking his classic design with that frowning metallic full-cover face mask with those chunky rivets around the neck, that flashy red ruby medallion, his huge red collar, and some of that black costume as it cuts off in a V shape to follow the angle of his exposed chest. What is super genius of the people at DST is the fact they've used one of his wrist rocket gauntlets as the stand, and it works perfectly. The bust is beautifully detailed and expertly sculpted and will cost you $159.99 with pre-orders up on Big Bad Toy Store, and they've just gone up on the Diamond Select Toys website as well, links in the description, with an estimated shipping date of April 2022. He's limited to 1,000 pieces and will come packaged in a full colour box. This does look absolutely outstanding, and for all you statue and bust people out there, he would be a superb addition to any of your collections. But I know for a fact that Pat and I aren't really statue guys. But what do you think about it, Pat? Do you like it? Do you think it's cool? What are your thoughts?
As far as just the artistry of it, I think it looks nice. There's, it's well sculpted and well detailed. So I think that a lot of people who are Destro character collectors will be after this one. I'm kind of curious. The chain around his neck looks so real. Is it an actual chain?
I think it's all sculpted. I believe it's all completely sculpted.
That is crazy. It looks really good. But yeah, I tend to prefer the man in the iron mask kind of look to Destro rather than the cartoon, he's a guy with a metal face. I don't know. It's not Rise of Cobra. The end of Rise of Cobra that is the reason for that. But I do think that as far as just imagining how Destro actually is in my head, he's wearing an iron mask, not having a metal face.
Yeah, like that kind of. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like almost like the ancestral thing was that they clamped a burning hot metal mask on their face and all that kind of stuff, wasn't it? And like. I know what you mean. Like the original toy as well has that kind of very block, very like the mouth is a slit, the eyes are slits. There's nothing like there's going to be moving or anything. But yeah, you get to the cartoon, and I guess they had to make him emote. They had to make his mouth move, and you kind of think I didn't at the time. I didn't really think about it at all. Like I didn't think. What's the technology behind Destro's face? Like it's definitely in later years that I was kind of like, hang on. How is he smiling and moving his face and all that kind of stuff? It just, it seemed kind of funny to me.
Yeah, and I'm okay with there being, a couple of different ones. I just sometimes feel like the solid mask is a little under visited.
Yeah.
And yeah, was it actually, other than Rise of Cobra, ever that it was a molten mask that they put on somebody's face?
Yeah, there was like...
It seems like it would kill somebody instantly.
There was I'm not sure if it was molten, but there was like something in the blurb somewhere in the comics or something, somewhere in the media. It might even have been in the Action Force comics, where they discussed that his ancestry, the reason he wore the mask was because of his ancestral,
Yeah, that was in there. But I think the fact that it was like a hot mask was new to Rise of Cobra, because
possibly
I remember that happening and being like, wait, what? How would he live?
That would hurt, wouldn't it? That would hurt so bad.
It would hurt like crazy, and
you'd definitely die of an infection.
You'd definitely die
if you survived you'd probably have a heart attack. But
if molten metal,
if you survived the burning of your face, the whole head actually, because it's not just your face, because the back of it's hot as well. You'd definitely be in a situation where you'd probably die of an infection inside there if you even survived that. But my God, the pain alone, oh, yikes. Some of the things they did, but I mean, it's horrible, some of the torture devices that exist, like it's just, it makes me feel all funny inside. Like I remember going to, I think it was like the Tower of London or one of those things, and there was this whole like dungeon type, it might be one of the castles we visited, whole dungeon thing where they talked about the history of all of these torture devices, and it was just like, I got through it and I felt sick. I was like, my God, like the horrible things we do to each other is just, and I mean people in general, is just bonkers. So yeah, I want to know if people did actually ever survive anything like that, but I doubt it as well, Pat. I think you're right. I think you put that metal...
I would imagine the Iron Mask was just a mask that was already formed, that was...
Yep.
I mean, just imagine how incredibly uncomfortable that was.
Oh,
and then
God,
Destro's story, being that he wore it to honor his ancestry.
No, what he did was he shaved his eyebrows and hair off, he painted himself silver, and he put neck rivets on. That's how he did it.
Maybe that is an explanation for the cartoon. Or it's just very like T-1000 metal all over his face.
Yeah.
It's just liquid all the time. That seems to be how Rise of Cobra was handling it.
Oh my God.
And he was excited. It was like, at last, finally, this has happened to my face.
So weird. That was such a weird ending. And like they instantly get captured. Oh, that was such a bad film. Anyway, enough of that. Diamond Select Toys. I've got to say, I do love their choice of stand for him, the kind of wrist gauntlet design. And the images have just come out actually of the back of it, and it kind of, there's a little impression that's carved out with a little Cobra symbol on it as well, which is quite cool.
Okay.
So yeah, they've done like full 360 shots now of the whole product, because when Big Bad Toy Store dropped the images, it was just the front and the kind of side on. So, but it looks amazing. I will say, like I said before, I'm not a statue guy. I don't collect them. I picked up the odd few, I think, back in the day when I was in that kind of completist mode, but have definitely not continued that going forward. And I think it's just, one thing, it's like obviously space is a premium at some point when you get too much stuff. And then also price, it's an expensive pursuit, isn't it, statues?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many people are buying tons and tons of statues. I think that a lot of times they work as like a centerpiece with other figures and things around them. Or there are people who are character collectors that will have every Destro statue. But yeah, it's some of the G.I. Joe statues have sometimes not really made it to market after they were shown, but I'm sure this will. I think that G.I. Joe's in a good spot right now for something like this. And that also kind of lends well, in some ways, to the collectability of it, because there aren't going to be a ton of some of these things.
I must admit as well, like I love that Storm Shadow. I thought that was gorgeous. Like really, again, that like you say, the artistry behind it is next level. But yeah, you got to kind of think. I think we're starting to get old in our ways now. It's like trying to think of the practicality of it all. But yeah, I'm definitely like, again, I think it looks gorgeous, but yeah, not really for me, this one. Destro's been getting a lot of love, hasn't he, the last couple of years? Like, I know he's one of the major core villains. 100, obviously that goes without saying. But I feel like he's probably had even more than, well, probably hasn't had even more than Cobra Commander. Cobra Commander probably edges him in classified, just obviously. But then, in terms of all this extra media stuff, do you think we'll get a GameStop helmet?
I would actually enjoy that, but I don't think so. I was in GameStop the other day, and those helmets have kind of really dropped in price.
Oh, they dropped in price after the first week, though. Like they came down almost like half price in like the first week of being out. Yeah, they were literally on sale. They came out a week later.
It was like a sale though that they had.
No,
right?
no, they haven't shifted. They haven't moved from that price since then.
Okay.
Literally came down and stayed down. And yeah, you're right. I think a lot of people actually. I have seen a lot of people buying them and showing them off and all that kind of stuff, but. Yeah, I've got a feeling that was that they're going to be sitting on a few of those because, again, they're great, though. I think they're really cool. Just as, like, little display pieces, they're kind of cool. But they turn into statues, don't they? I suppose if you're not, like, a cosplayer as well. I mean, and cosplayers, let's face it, they make their own way a lot of the time. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a niche little market going on there, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, I have not picked those up, and I think I still have my eyes on the Cobra Commander one. There's supposed to be some Transformers ones coming out as well.
Yeah. Didn't they do a Soundwave? Didn't they drop a Soundwave recently?
Pictures of it, yeah. I don't know if... I think that maybe that went up for pre-order. I don't know if anybody actually has Optimus in here.
Yeah, Megatron 2 they did, didn't they? I'm sure they did. Yeah, and the face...
When Optimus Megatron Soundwave, so...
And isn't the Megatron one Megatron really funny? Like it's got that kind of animated like mouth and everything. I think I have a funny feeling. I looked at it and thought, oh my god, that's brilliant, but in like a funny way.
Yeah, but maybe they'll make more. I don't know. I think Destro would be the obvious best choice for a helmet from G.I. Joe. Yeah, I agree. That'd be a great one.
Storm Shadow would be easy. They could just throw a little ninja mask out.
Well,
just like,
a mask.
Stick that on a stand, just a draped bit of cloth. Brilliant.
That's actually probably why I didn't buy the Snake Eyes one, is that it probably should be a mask. Like, not a mask, but a visor and not an entire helmet.
Yeah. The Snake Eyes one has always been a mystery as to how it works, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because, like, I suppose it would have to be like the helmet would have to be kind of almost like a rubbery material in reality to hold the visor in place, because if it's cloth it just sags and drags the whole thing down, doesn't it? Yeah,
Philip and I were talking about that actually, because I really like the Retaliation Snake Eyes design.
Oh yes.
And his only criticism of it was that, well, maybe I shouldn't speak for Philip, but he pointed out that Retaliation used a helmet for Snake Eyes, and he would like to see the balaclava with the visor. And I agree. I think that would be an interesting way to go in the future for Snake Eyes, or even Snake Eyes in a movie. It seems like, the Rise of Cobra had like the rubber.
Yeah, it was rubber, 100%. Mask. Yeah. It was like a gimp suit.
There was so much weird going on there. I don't even know if that's worth discussing.
What is funny though is when they dropped that in the images, I was going mad. I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's like seeing Snake Eyes for the first time in like live action. Do you know what I mean? Like it just felt really cool. And
yeah, whenever they dropped it for me the first time, I thought, I was really concentrated on how weird it was to see the lips on Snake Eyes. Yeah, that was weird. But at the same time, just getting very hyped for the movie.
Hey, he had lips on his V2 version.
Well, they were kind of showing through the mask. I don't think that he had perfectly sculpted, pouty lips.
Correct. But yeah, you can definitely see some kisses coming through that mask. But right. You're right. It's through the.
Yeah.
It's what they're saying is that this is a cloth mask, and you can see it kind of protruding. But yeah, Rise of Cobra was a funny one. But I must admit, when I first saw those images, I was going nuts. And yeah, it's only after a while that you kind of go, Okay, yeah. But Retaliation,
What do you mean after a while? You mean like after the 2 hours it took to make the movie, to watch the movie, right?
yeah, basically.
You're going,
When
okay.
when I saw like obviously Retaliation has its faults massively, but that Snake Eyes design is up there for me as one of the best Snake Eyes designs of all time.
Yeah,
Even I love the head design. I love the mask, the helmet mask thing. I think
the
it's
way
cool.
that they handled even the mouth and that having it be like layered in and having it look like mesh, it was a really good Snake Eyes design. I like that one a lot.
It's dope. One of my faves.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, that's Destro. Strangely enough, I don't know how we end up getting on these tangents. But yeah, like I said, links in the description if you're interested in picking that up. It's astonishing, but yeah, like we said before, we're probably not going in for that because we you know how things are. I tell you what, like we didn't mention it in the statues area, but Prime 1, holy crap! If I was ever going to get a statue, it would be one that was literally my height and like just ridiculous like that, because those things look unreal, and that's something I would definitely go that route if I had the space and the money for it. But anyway, enough of that. Let's move on to something that in my background links into the next story, and that's in Christmas sweater / jumper news. Thanks to Paige Wagner for the heads up on this, but a Cobra Christmas jumper / sweater, I'm covering my bases for my UK and US peeps, has been spotted at a Beals in Florida. I will now revert to my original UK vernacular for the remainder of this segment. The jumper features Cobra Commander, Baroness Destro, Storm Shadow and a Crimson Guard, from what I can tell, and utilises that awesome yellow Cobra enemy logo we all know and love from the vintage packaging. Other than the Cobra logos, I can't see any other nods to the brand on the jumper, but man, I'm going to need this. We have our Florida correspondent Adam Riches on the hunt at the moment, but so far it's not looking good. It looks to be from one of the Beals outlets due to the $16.99 price tag, but there's definitely a saving going on there, and from what I can tell, they are retailing at $34, but I imagine we will find out very soon. The jumpers have also shown up on Walmart online and Amazon via third-party vendors for much higher prices as well, but all smaller sizes currently. It's likely Beals outlet got some to mark down, so keep your eyes peeled for any cheeky Cobra holiday jumpers on your travels. Pat, jumper or sweater? What do you obviously say sweater, don't you?
I don't even understand how you would call it a jumper. I don't understand the etymology of that whatsoever.
I don't know for sure, but I always thought, and this is probably completely wrong, I always thought it was because sheep's wool and the whole jumping over fences and all that kind of... You know how you count sheep when you go to sleep? You ever heard that expression?
Sure. It's just a really weird...
Oh, yeah. Trust me, it's probably not the real etymology of the term, but that was, for some reason, that was where my mind always put it. I'm actually going to look up the etymology of jumper while you speak about whether you're into this or not.
I'm going to say that it looks really cool. If I see one in person, I probably will pick it up. I didn't see them last year, but the numbers that are showing up now feel like this was something that was out and flew under the radar. And maybe all of the sizes that would fit me were what was sold. And that's why some of the online stores only have those smaller sizes, and why they would be showing up at Beals for just $17, because this looks like more than $17 worth of sweater.
100%. I was like, when I saw that and I saw the price, I'm like, I'm going to need one of those, please. They look kind of fun though. I do love those kind of things. And yeah, definitely going to try and grab one. By the way, I was way off. Well, obviously I was way off, but I wasn't talking about the etymology of the term. I was talking about where my brain goes when I hear the word. Jumper, article of clothing, 1853, in reference to a kind of loose jacket with sleeves, apparently from mid-17th century. Jump, short coat worn by men, also woman's underbodice. A word of uncertain origin, it is perhaps from French jupe, skirt, or from some notion in jump, meaning sleeveless dress worn over a blouse. So, you kind of, it jumps over, I guess. So anyway, there you go. Any the wiser on that one? I'm not.
No, that doesn't really help me too much. I don't quite understand that one.
Well, neither do I, so you're not alone there. Yeah, so if anyone from the UK can explain what they think the term jumper comes from, then that would be fun. I'd like to see where you come from there on that one. But yeah, we call sweaters jumpers if anyone's really confused. That's what's going on. But that's just how we are. We like to mess it up and confuse you guys dramatically. Destro appears on this sweater again. Dude's getting love everywhere. You can't avoid him.
He's one of the major Cobra characters. Is
he though? Really?
That's Destro.
Well, is he really one of the major characters though?
He's not really one of the major Cobra characters. He's just so important and awesome that he's not even necessarily a member of Cobra.
No, he's definitely his own thing, isn't he? Mars, all that jazz.
Yeah, even in the original cartoon theme song, it was Cobra and Destro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How funny would it have been if they'd have said Cobra and Destro and Baroness and Major Blood sometimes and Firefly, if they just kept going and just naming all the characters one by one. Don't forget the troops. And then they list all of the Vipers. Oh my God, that would take hours. But yeah, they should do that for the intro. In fact, I'm going to do that for the intro. It's going to sound hilarious. Anyway, Cobra holiday sweaters, guys. Keep an eye out for them. Yes, I know it's early, but what are you going to do? It's close enough now. I've got a Christmas tree behind me. Pat, are you celebrating the holidays early, or when do you kind of start getting when do you get into the feel of Christmas?
Like I said, this week has just felt very busy. This year is still a whirlwind of me not having enough time for anything.
Yep.
So normally I would try to get the Christmas tree up sometime after Thanksgiving.
That's a good point. That is an American thing in general, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And last year I just didn't bother, and it was so relaxing to not put the tree up at all. And I think I may be heading there this year as well. I'd like to get it up, but we'll see if that happens.
Pat, we all like to get it up. Would you consider yourself a very Christmassy person around the holidays, or are you? Well, I mean, how do you?
It varies year to year. It really does. I have a lot of fond memories of Christmas as a kid. You know, I have a lot of thoughts in my head as how I like my Christmas tradition to go.
Yeah.
And maybe that's it. Maybe once some of those traditions start getting broken, I'm like, well, I just didn't make it for the year. I have failed as a person.
I do love the holiday period. I do think it's, I don't know, usually because I get to see my family, but obviously last year that didn't happen. So they're coming out here this year, which is nice, especially after my whole failed trying to get out there trip. My goodness, let's not get into that again. By the way, update, I haven't felt a single twinge since the day, that morning, that I was in agony. So I'm thinking it was just an infection. That's because they didn't see a kidney stone. So I'm fingers crossed there isn't one in there, because it's been a long time since that happened now, and nothing.
Did they give you any medicine that would have taken care of an infection?
No. Yes. I had I had antibiotics. Yeah, because that's what they said. What they said was it's likely kidney stones. They did a CT scan, and the infection that they could see masked any view of whether they could see if it was a kidney stone or not. So they just assumed and, said, well, let's deal with the infection because that's important. And also gave me, I was just drinking a lot of water effectively and this is the thing. I didn't need any of the pain medication. So I ended up not having any of the pain medication because I didn't need it. They said, take it when you start feeling a twinge. Nothing. So I've literally, I do not know what that was other than very, very crap timing, effectively. Literally the worst possible timing in human history you could think of. But in any case, it stopped me from flying out to the UK. This is getting too long, and I just wanted to talk about Christmas. But yeah, that's the update on my health so far, guys. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I don't know what the hell that was all about. But yeah, you can stop worrying if you are worrying. Not that I don't think anyone probably even remembers now. Anyway, let's get onto something else to worry about, Pat, and that's in HasLab Skystriker news. Hasbro have been posting video updates for the HasLab Skystriker for the past week. Firstly, Emily from marketing and G.I. Joe brand writer Sam discussed the project, including what backers could expect to see if the campaign reaches its initial funding goal of 10,000 backers. We got an even more in-depth look at some of the cockpit details a few days later with lead designer Lenny and Chris from engineering. They discussed the ejector seats and ejector seat blast effects, which seem to clip into the cockpit very easily. The seats have some awesome detailing on the back for the navigator/co-pilot, and they even have a removable panel to store the parachutes, which Lenny explained was still in development. The parachutes, that is. The canopy is in two parts now and opens much like the original, only with the second piece towards the front, which can be removed to allow for an easier pilot entry. They've also added some cool cockpit details for the pilot's dashboard, as well as pedals and a control stick, which is ever so cool. But probably my favourite part of the video was the multiple removable panels that reveal the inner workings for the nose guns, and a brand new chin pod addition, which in real life would act as a guidance system for the missiles, and in this case covers up a screw hole. Finally, they also revealed how the ladder fits onto the cockpit to allow for the pilots to enter. So far it's looking very cool indeed. In addition to that, Hot Topic posted t-shirts worn by Lenny and Chris in the video for purchase on their website, link in the description. Pat, let's start with the details that were shown off during the design video update. How are you liking all of those?
I'm glad that we finally saw what those were. I think that I was talking about those shortly after they showed off the Skystriker, because you could tell that there were some other panels there on the other side. So I'm glad that they have already shown us those. I'm sure that there's other details of the Skystriker still to show us. This was part one of the design aspect of it. Who knows how long it'll be before we see the other video? I would assume kind of soon.
Soon, yeah, I guess.
I kind of wonder
probably today after I friggin' edit this.
Probably. I kind of wonder though what they were thinking about what is that device that plugs into the screw hole?
Oh, the chin pod.
They mentioned that they thought about capping off that screw hole, and that would be very bad because that's the hole that you use to tow the Skystriker with on the deck of the USS Flag. So I'm glad that they didn't cap that off. I guess you need to remove that thing if you want to have it be compatible with the tow vehicle. So yeah, very, very weird thing that they would do that. And it kind of makes me wonder if the new tow vehicle is actually at the correct height in order to tow that, or if it's only going to tow the weapons system. So kind of curious about that now.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out a few more details. But that is a question I will kind of pose to them as well. How does the tow vehicle interact with the Skystriker is kind of like how I'd probably phrase that. But yeah, you're right. What I really enjoyed about the kind of design video was just in that cockpit nose cone canopy area. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of fun aspects to kind of really kind of get stuck into. The blast effects of the ejector seat, it's a nice touch. I think that's really fun and could look really cool, on display like that too. And also the fact that they've thought about a lot of different variables there, haven't they? They've thought about how do we update this? How do we make it better? How do we make it more, interactive? And having all of the kind of pilots paraphernalia in there, like the details on the dashboard, the instruments, like the stick, the pedals. I think that's really cool. And then not just that, but thinking about the navigator behind and having details on the seats, which I just think is it's a no-brainer to a degree, but also I'm so glad they thought of that and they added that in the detailing.
Yeah, for sure. That was something that fits within the level of things that made it into vintage vehicles, just not into the Skystriker, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess the yoke, that's what it's called. Maybe I'm wrong. The control stick, I will be as basic as possible because I know nothing about military vehicles. But that's something that really wasn't in a lot of G.I. Joe vehicles back then. Yeah. But, they're definitely hyping up this entire Skystriker. So it's, for me, a welcome addition. And I'm kind of my eyes were also very focused lately on the differences between the package art. They've really updated that package art to actually look like the actual vehicle. And one of the things I was looking at is where the G.I. Joe logo is, because
here he goes. I like your t-shirt, by the way. Oh, look at that.
On the original Skystriker, the logo is right here. Nice. They've moved it to right here, which is actually where the G.I. Joe logo was on the vintage vehicle.
Yeah.
So this package art didn't match the vintage vehicle. and they've changed it so that it does.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because now that G.I. Joe logo, since it's staying where it was on the vintage toy, it's going to be covering those panels that they just took off on the other side.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see, how all that lines up and how it looks once it's painted, because they did say that this thing is going to have like 200 paint apps. And I think that's one of the aspects that nobody is talking about.
Yeah, you're right, actually. I don't even remember them discussing the paint apps aspect. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, they mentioned it very quickly that it was going to have a lot of paint apps, but also in addition to the paint apps, some of the decal options. I could swear that they said that it was going to have like 200 of them. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I do not. I believe you is what I'm going to say. I do not disbelieve you, which makes no sense. I do believe you. So, having said that, how hilarious is it going to be when all of the panels don't line up with the, like they paint it and then this doesn't line up very nicely. It could be a problem. Could be a problem. But like I think at 200 paint ops, the thing is effectively like two colors, the base thing of it. So they must be talking about a lot of different like deco tampos, as it were, straight onto the actual vehicle.
Yeah, I think that my impression of what they were talking about was that a lot of it's going to be painted, but then there are a lot of options. So you can change the names that appear in the window, like for whichever your preference is, how it would be worded. Which again, I really hope that they get the Brad J. Armbruster in there, because that box again was off. It says J. Brad Armbruster. It should be Brad J. Armbruster to match his file card. I hope they get that in there. The other decals were just options of like what's going to go on the tail fins and things like that. I think we maybe won't have to put all the nose steps on. I don't know. I guess we could tell because they've shown off the sticker sheets. We probably could match up what's on there. I don't think that we'll have to be putting G.I. Joe over those panels. Yeah. Hopefully they'll paint it after it goes on maybe, and then each one will be perfect to itself.
I'm sure they will. Know. Yeah, they have to do some sort of mask on the actual completed side, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll find out in however many years. Probably not. I don't know. We'll get some production shots updates.
As long as it's fun.
If it's successful, that's my next question. I know we talked about this kind of in a lot of depth last time, but are you any more convinced it's going to reach the 10,000? I mean, how do you feel at the moment?
I'm disappointed that we're not there already. I won't lie. I am disappointed that it hasn't just skyrocketed and everybody is there already. But they're doing a lot of HasLabs all at the same time.
No, it doesn't feel like the best. It doesn't feel like the best strategy to me. Like when they've done HasLabs close together, it does feel like one does get like you do see like I suppose like a trend almost of one of them struggling and the other one not. I feel like they need time to breathe, each one of them, don't you?
Yeah, I kind of feel like the HasLab projects have benefited a lot from social media, pushing them from the hype engine. And I feel like the hype of some of them may be bumping other topics down further. I don't know.
Well, we're currently...
Your casual buyer may be skipping this one in order to get a Rancor.
True. Yeah, and obviously they've just revealed a bunch of new images and finally the paint deco, like what it's actually going to look like. That's got 900 applications. I feel like the Rancor and the Skystriker, from a practical point of view, have probably got the least going on in their color, and yet one's got 900 and the other's got 200 operations. It's unbelievable. The Skystriker at the moment currently is at 5,549, and it's been around halfway, hasn't it? Let's face it, for ages. And I can't, like, I would have hoped to see some sort of little boost each time, but I don't know. I just don't think it's got the legs, and I want it to be successful. This is the thing. It's like such a horrible feeling because you want it to be really successful, and I just can't see it getting it. Well, maybe at a stretch I could see it funding, but then is that when we're going to see that, like, oh my god, like that real rush when it actually hits the funding goal?
Well, these things always have a bell curve to them, or upside down bell curve, I should say, where they fund a lot right at the beginning and then it just plummets and kind of stays down and then, comes back up at the end. And hopefully if it's an even bell curve, that end will be at least as much as it was in the beginning, and we'll be well over our 10,000 goal.
Yeah. I was hoping for
So
a
I don't
Justin
know.
Bell curve, which is just 5 stars across the board all the way.
Right.
Funded first day, That's a Justin Bell curve.
We'll just leave it up to Justin to buy the other 5,000.
Hurry up, Justin.
He's not here, so
So we can talk shit.
the two of us will elect him to be the guy that has to buy 5,000.
He's not here, and he will never watch this show.
That's right.
We can say whatever we want. Right, okay. So we got one of the things that I absolutely loved that they showed was when you remove the panels, tons and tons of the inner workings of the guns.
Yeah.
And I really liked that the thought that went into that. It was like the gun used to be at the top, and obviously that would be kind of impossible when you think about how guns work on planes and jets like that. So they put it down the bottom. Both sides have got them. You remove the panels and you get all that beautiful like detailing inside of the Gatling kind of gun and and it's really I think that was a really nice touch, because having been to the Air Force Museum in Ohio, I've seen the inner workings of some of those incredible, like the A10 for example, with that massive ridiculous thing that it has on its nose, and just all of the details there. I love that as an addition on this plane.
Yeah, well, the A10 itself, I think, actually is just, if you look at the inner workings of that, it's like it's a big flying gun.
It
Like
is. The plane was
stick out the tip of it.
Wasn't it designed around
the entire
it?
length of the plane.
Wasn't it designed around it effectively?
I think so. Yeah.
That thing
is crazy.
Is unreal. Yeah, hopefully we'll get to see when they do the Rattler HasLab. Hopefully we'll get to see a little bit of the A10 in that. Okay, cards on the table. If it does not fund, do you expect to see a G.I. Joe HasLab anytime soon following?
I think that they should treat the 3 3/4 HasLab separately from the 6-inch HasLab. I also would hope so as far as questioning whether or not they should do a 6-inch one on the heels of however this does, I think that question's kind of inconsequential. I think that there's a huge different audience for the 6-inch stuff. So let them have their own HasLab and have it not be linked to this one whatsoever, in my mind. Maybe you want to put a little distance from it, because I'm sure some people would be naysaying it, trying to make a connection between the two. So maybe you want to give it a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would make sense. But I think we've discussed that I'd also would have liked a 3 3/4 HasLab that was maybe something completely different than what we'd had before. If this was a G.I. Joe headquarters, like from the Sunbow cartoon, that was much larger than the original headquarters and had that big gun and maybe like
the sliding door
for some vehicles to come out of it. Yeah, I think maybe that could have done a little bit better, depending on what the inner workings were of it. Something ground up designed. This feels like they're infusing something existing with a lot of detail, which is great. And I really wanted to fund, especially want those figures. That's where I'm really concerned.
Yeah.
If it doesn't fund, I do want those stretch goal figures in some way, shape, or form down the road. But maybe we won't get them because they may not want to reward us for not buying it.
Possibly. I'm with you though. I think, like, say for example, if it funds, basically, I can see them going, okay, well, at least we've got that out, we've got that done, and that worked to a degree, right? I think all of the figures that they were planning to do, I think they could be absorbed elsewhere. I think they could be found. They could find a way to do them in another way, like in the future. And like, for example, the Pit Crew HQ, or we've talked about it in the past, and as ridiculous as I think it is, I don't think it's off the table, and that is a flag. And it's almost like when you say that word in context of talking about HasLab and Hasbro and a toy, it's almost like it's almost like an instant eye roll. It's almost like, not for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I want a flag. But for a lot of us, I feel like it's like, flag, okay. But I do think, having spoken to you and spoken to a bunch of the other guys over the last, however many years, I don't think it's 100% off the table. I think it is a table, but I don't think it's off the table. How do you feel about the flag as a concept for a HasLab?
I've given it an eye roll myself, honestly, in the past. But with HasLab, we're in a different environment than we were whenever we were looking for things just going directly to retail. Obviously, one of the biggest things they've done since the modern era of G.I. Joe, if I can even call it that, since the 25th anniversary, is the pit headquarters playset, that rolling pit. And that thing didn't do very well. Those lingered at retail and then went to clearance, and it felt like there were a lot of them that I don't even know where they ended up. So that was just kind of a disaster, and not anywhere near big enough to also do a USS flag at a similar size or price. Like it wasn't even comparative.
Yeah.
That was more like the Mobile Command Center.
Yeah.
But now that they can do a HasLab and ship us these gigantic boxes, like I look at the box of Unicron and I think to myself, if you broke the deck into a few more pieces, you could fit it in there. And we've discussed the benefit of breaking the deck down into smaller pieces, because maybe then you could remove one of those panels and underneath it would be a room full of stuff that you could also put some figures and stuff in.
Oh, and I think have space at the front for like a whale to kind of sit inside, so it can
have
open.
A spot in the front for the whale, for it to open up, and maybe a whale can come out. There are definitely some things that they could do that they actually could make the flag break down a little bit more and fit into a box that's roughly the size of what Jabba's sail barge came in or what Unicron came in. I think that it's doable as far as the shipping goes, which kind of I do think was a big issue a long time ago, as well as the retail space. And with a HasLab, you never have to worry about it fitting in the retail space. That's not a thing. So I think that we've definitely removed some of the barriers that were like absolutely not. Those we know are gone.
I would say one barrier that still exists for me is just how much it would cost the consumer for a HasLab like that, because we're talking, even if we're talking comparable to the original, right? Not even like better yet, not even upgraded, because that brings with it even more cost. But even just comparable to the original in terms of size, in terms of features, comparable, you are looking at something that would cost the consumer upwards of about $800 or more, I think, going in that direction. And I'm just talking comparable on what has already been done. Now, they could bring costs down. Like you've said, you've argued this point, haven't you, in the past, where you've said, and I won't speak for you, you can say this yourself, but they've brought costs down in other ways already, just by, if you're going to do something like this, like you've already done it by saying breaking it down into different pieces, and that kind of maybe making some of those pieces a little bit uniform, so that you're saving on tooling costs and so on and so forth. 100%. I still think it's going to be in the higher echelons of what we've seen already in HasLab, just on that basis alone. So they'd have to sacrifice a lot, I think, or change it in a way that wasn't necessarily sacrificing it, but not doing it the way they did it on that original, and kind of, maybe having, like you say, more depth in the base, but less, more kind of broken down pieces and more basic interiors rather than super detail and super, and the thing is, from a consumer standpoint, if you're paying like that amount of money, I still think it would take a lot, effectively what I'm saying, to get it down to at least $600 for a consumer. It would take a lot of sacrifice. What would you say to that?
I agree. I think the bar is set, which is one of the dangerous things, because they could they really release a flag that was, say, an inch shorter than it used to be? I don't think so. I don't think that'd be worth it. They've got to make if you're going to do the USS flag, it's going to need to be a little bit bigger than I can't believe you said that.
But you're right. It's going to have to be a bit higher, isn't it? Because you're going to have to...
Well, maybe a little bit higher, but also a little bit longer, because people are going to want to know that they are buying the biggest G.I. Joe vehicle. They're not going to want to be buying it's a new flag and it's got some other features that are good. No, they're going to want to buy the biggest one. And I think that there's some interesting things going on in the Skystriker that make me think
here we go
even more that it's not off the table, because
Pat Conspiracy Stewart.
Yeah, well, one of the ways you could get the cost down, and this is just very realistic, one of the ways you could get the cost down of the flag would be to remove some of the parts of it that are not attached that you could put into other projects, like maybe the captain's ship, the Admiral's launch.
Okay.
The Admiral's little boat that's on the side of it. Maybe you actually do that a little bit better, but make it be a separate something released with something else. But the tow vehicle and the fueling tank truck,
Skystriker.
Yeah, it's with the Skystriker, and the Skystriker also has the arrestor hook. Like if you look at the switch for, I think that's the switch for the landing gear.
Yeah.
That actually, they activated it in the video, and they showed it, but just very quickly and didn't really address it. But it definitely is an arrestor hook that should be able to be used, I would think, as long as it can bend down, as long as there's a hinge there, for catching on to the USS flag. So yeah, they're making it so that it can be used with a vintage flag. But also a lot of people are talking about, why didn't they make this compatible with the slightly larger modern 4-inch figures? And honestly, I think it could be because of the fact that they want to retain that original size, because if they make it bigger, then they are raising how much larger they have to make a USS flag to hold a Skystriker.
Here's another thing for you as well. You're talking about, where we could see figures in the future. Pit crew turns into the flag crew, right?
Well, that's not a coincidence.
Yeah. The
pit crew figure looks exactly like the concept for the unproduced second figure that was going to come with USS flag.
Yeah.
So to me, that's just another thing that adds up to the Skystriker project. Feels like a lead-in to the USS flag to me.
How funny would it be if they fund this and then immediately reveal the USS flag HasLab? Hey guys, here's another one. It's going to be $8 billion. Good luck.
Or it's just after we've sold 50,000 Skystrikers, the flag is a stretch goal.
That would be the most mental stretch goal ever. But I'm here for it. That would be crazy cool. All good points though, definitely. And I totally agree with what you're saying. With a lot of that, I have definitely to a degree kind of come round a little bit to the flag being a concept that could be done. But I'm still only if in reality, I'm gonna when it comes out, it's just going to be so expensive. And I think it can't have other HasLabs going on. It can't have anything going on around it. It has to be like on its own in the middle of the sea in order to, actually get something like that to go through. I think people would be really excited. I think people would jump on it. I think, not literally, I think people would be very up for something like that, something on that grand scale. But again, there's a balance somewhere here, isn't there? Like, we've seen what the fandom kind of has reacted to this Skystriker as a project, and I'm not saying they're the same thing, but you're talking about something bigger, more expensive. So space and price also immediately become a factor here. Immediately. Yeah,
but there's bragging rights to a USS flag. There's no bragging rights to a Skystriker.
Are you sure? I'm sure someone's out there with 3,000 Skystrikers now going, "Hey, I've got all the Skystrikers."
Well, Sure. There are some bragging rights to Skystriker. It's awesome, but so many people want a USS flag and want to show off the fact that, hey, I have a USS flag. I mean, there's a lot of toy stores too, like
it's the centerpiece.
Toy stores that will just build a USS flag to have that be an attraction to their store.
Yeah.
So the flag is a legend, and personally, I prefer the Defiant.
Yeah.
So there's that.
We haven't even discussed the Defiant. We haven't discussed Defiant, but that would be probably even more costly with all of the bells and whistles.
It would be. Yeah, I think so. It's not just a flat table.
No, you'd have to.
That's the crazy thing to me too. Is like the flag is mostly a table. You can go to Walmart and buy a table that folds in half for $60 and it includes metal components. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Stick a
shipping
tower
isn't
on
an
it.
issue. Storage at the store isn't an issue. All these things that we cling to as being the hurdles of the USS Flag.
Hear me out here. HasLab IKEA crossover. It's a piece of furniture, flat pack furniture, flag, done. I think that would be wicked, actually. Hasbro, call me. IKEA, we'll hook it up. I'll be the middleman. Anyway, we've discussed this ad infinitum now, Pat, but it's a very intriguing topic, and obviously, like we've both said, we really want this to fund. It would be great if it does, but I've just got that little, it's an annoying seed of doubt that I wish wasn't there. But I'm like super positive about these things, but in reality, I'm struggling to see if this can actually get all the way. I bloody hope it does, and obviously we'll keep you up to date with any more news that comes out, and hopefully we can push the needle a little bit more with a few more updates. So keep them coming, Lenny, Chris, Emily, Sam, keep them coming. The whole brand, in fact, the whole G.I. Joe team. I'm sure we'll see even more from you guys in the next couple of weeks. Now, next up then, in comics news... Yes, IDW have issued a press release revealing a brand new 4-part miniseries called G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Saturday Morning Adventures, based on the Sunbow animated series from the 80s. The creative team includes writer Eric Burnham, artist Dan Schoening, and colorist Luis Antonio Delgado. The first issue will be out in February next year and will ship monthly. The press release also unveiled the first 2 covers for issue 1, cover A by series artist Dan Schoening and cover B by Megan Huang, as well as mentioning a retailer incentive edition by Billy Penn. I'm genuinely surprised that this has taken this long to do a comic for the G.I. Joe Sunbow cartoon fans. It seems to have been an idea floating around the community for years, and since Transformers and Star Trek got the animated treatment in comics not too long ago, it was only a matter of time before we got something like this. I'm hoping sales of this particular series are good enough to warrant an ongoing alongside Larry Hammer's A Real American Hero comic, but I would settle for multiple miniseries in the future in the same universe. You can check out the full press release by following the link in the description. Pat, this was a nice surprise for Sunbow fans, wasn't it?
Yeah, it kind of seems overdue, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Yeah. I feel like this is like an untapped resource. We've discussed it on Comics Burst in the past. We've discussed it together. I've discussed it with Adam. I think Adam's pitched it. Like, it's just been... Like, I feel like this has been going on for years and years. Finally happening now. Probably no coincidence that it's during this kind of G.I. Joe brand revival a little bit.
Yeah, and there's part of me that always kind of feels like, well, it's sad that we're getting the cartoon characters as a comic book rather than as think of how crazy it would be to have an actual revival of the old cartoon in the old cartoon style, just a couple more episodes. That would be nuts.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then I think back to some of the older comics, like Batman the Animated Series had a Batman the Animated Series comic book to supplement the show at the time, I think.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like, yeah, we should have been getting this a long time ago. Like maybe even Devil's Due should have put out something like this.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, I feel like a lot of brands, a lot of kind of like continuities tend to have all the different tie-ins relate to each other. And I feel like, and I know this, that isn't what it always happens every single time, but G.I. Joe has always felt to me like there are all these different continuities at the same time. It's like the cartoon, the comics, the toys. Even the toys had different backstories half the time. And like, you've got, and it was massive and everyone, loved it. But people kind of almost became like, oh, I'm a Sunbow guy, or I'm a toy girl, or I'm like a, do you know what I mean? Like, it was like everyone kind of picked their gang in a weird way. It was like, personally, I was an all-in, across-the-board kind of person, and I think a lot of people were. But, like, over the years, it's like, I'm not really into Sunbow. I'm more of a comics guy. I'm not really into the comics. I grew up on the cartoon, yada, yada, yada. So there does seem to be this kind of like, almost like segregation between them because they're just all over the place. But you're right. This comic should have been out alongside the cartoon.
Yeah, and maybe that's also because of a little bit of the voice of the fandom. It definitely felt like in the late 90s, maybe even into the early 2000s, if you talked online to if you polled everybody who was regularly talking G.I. Joe online, they would have at that point undoubtedly said that their main continuity was based on the comic book.
100%, yeah, agreed.
But then as G.I. Joe came back in like 2002 and started getting attention of more and more people, they started coming in. Naturally, it's going to eventually go back to what it was, I think, in the 80s, where the cartoon had a lot more exposure and a larger number of people were watching the cartoon, I think, than following the comic. For me, I didn't get the cartoon. It didn't air. And I was already a fan of the comic book.
He's never got
prior
over that.
to the Mass Device coming out.
He never got over that, ladies and gentlemen. Pat has never got over the fact that they never.
I've never gotten over it. I was still upset about it. But yeah, I had the Mass Device. I had Revenge of Cobra, but other than that, none of the episodes aired for it.
How do you think I felt? I had to like beg, steal, and borrow Action Force VHS tapes, like it was like crack that was getting sold in the playground.
It's amazing that we're fans.
Not that crack gets sold in the playgrounds. I hope it doesn't anyway. But it was like proper dealing VHS tapes. It was amazing. Amazing days. I miss those days. Going to the video shop in my town, and literally they had the movie and they had Captives of Cobra and Oda Cobra, and I would like literally book them out, rent them out every weekend, and then get in trouble for taking them back a little bit late, like a couple of hours late. And they're like, we won't fine you this time, but just remember, get them back in time. Yeah, whatever, love. I miss those days. And considering that,
were you able to get to the store yourself, or did you have to have your?
I could bike down there. It was like literally down the hill from where I lived. That's how lazy I could be at times.
For me, the closest video store was at least a half an hour drive.
Oh, mate,
like by car. So no, I wasn't doing that either.
Our video store was the size of our pantry, and I'm not kidding you. We have got a very small pantry too. If you took the shelving out of our pantry, it was like that. It was literally just a wall. It was like one big wall of tapes, then two smaller walls either side, and then two like other little small walls. Obviously, they had to have a doorway in there, and then they'd put like a rack in the middle, which had them on both sides. So they'd literally crammed, and you couldn't be in there with another person. Like it was like, you were literally, having intercourse at that point by complete accident. Didn't happen, but that's what I told the judge. But anyway, in that little space, so cramped, and like I was a kid, so it was like, I'll have the Action Force movie, and I'll have Captives of Cobra and Oda Cobra every single weekend. There was only one weekend I remember where they were booked out already, because I think I was the only person that ever got them out. Did
you just forget to return them and forgot because you were still on that playground crack?
Don't talk about the playground crack. It wasn't that bad. Stop talking about playground crack. It was bad times. No, I took them back every time. But I wish I hadn't.
Get the intercourse in the tiny room.
Exactly. I needed to get my.
I love how these topics just go onto something else entirely. And we're trying to talk about the comic book that's based on the cartoon.
Oh yeah, the comic book that's based on the cartoon.
We're learning about your playground crack and your video store intercourse.
Let's move on then from that, and let's discuss what we'd love to see in this cut. So basically, what we know of so far is that Cobra have got a new Aladdin initiative, and there's Cobra on the front with Aladdin's lamp. So this is going to be on some Sunbow bonkers bull, which I absolutely love. So straight away, I'm feeling what they're putting out there at the moment.
Yeah, it feels like it's an appropriate level of cartoon plot for sure. That there would just be this thing that Cobra has found. Yeah,
in a cave. It's going to be in a cave as well, isn't it? Let's face it. They're going to find this in a cave. It's Aladdin's lamp. They're going to rub it, and Cobra's going to have wishes. I can't wait. I mean, I'm sure
they're going to have to go find the parts of the lamp, reassemble the lamp.
And then build a pyramid of lamps, is what you're saying, right? I must admit, I'm really excited for this. And a couple of things strike me here is the options they've got for storytelling, because they can do some fun ass stuff. They could do a mini-series where they go to the alternate universe in Worlds Without End, and they could talk about the story that happened after everyone buggered off and left Steeler Clutch and Grunt behind.
Yeah, there's a lot that they could do. I think that it's interesting to think of where this is going to take place in the Sunbow cartoon universe. This almost looks like it's somewhere earlier on in my mind, because it doesn't include like the 86 characters.
How you say that? You say that, but Sci-Fi's on the cover, by the way.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that.
And we don't necessarily know if that is just like a bit of artist license kind of thing, artistic license kind of thing, where they've just thrown a couple of the really big, well-known cartoon visually characters, like Beachhead's on there too. So I wonder if there's they're kind of covering their bases a little bit with where it could be, date wise.
I doubt that we're going to get, like a Deke issue that's just dedicated completely to Metalhead's grandmother.
Oh, don't. If that happened, I would probably stop reading comics for the rest of my life. It's one of those episodes I just cannot get through. I can't. It grinds me, that Deke episode.
That's the figure everyone's been waiting on for years. Metalhead's grandmother.
Could you imagine if they did that in Super 7, like Wave 3, just all Deke, but it's all like really obscure.
I
Deke
do enjoy
characters.
the Deke cartoon. I got back into G.I. Joe heavily in '89, and so whenever Deke came out a little bit later, it was nice to be able to have, I didn't get the Sunbow cartoon anywhere whenever I was younger, but when I got back into it, then I did get the Deke cartoon.
This is just all rebellion.
How crazy is that?
It's all just rebellion because you didn't get the Sunbow cartoon. So in spite, you just enjoyed the Deke cartoon instead.
Well, the Deke would actually show reruns of the Marvel episodes. So there was an occasionally where I would see an episode that I had missed as a kid because they didn't come out on VHS.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have access to it. So I did see some of them that way. But I also think that it would be interesting to have some of the comics, if they do more of them. Like, could you do one that takes place right after the movie, right after G.I. Joe movie?
In fact, funny you should say that, because in one of the Untold Tales, there was a kind of supplemental comic kind of story at the back. And it was effectively like the end of the movie. And Falcon was off like chasing down leads as to who, where Cobra had gone, where they'd fled to and everything, looking for Serpentor, I believe. And then they did like this not pan shot, but they did this shot at the bottom where you could see it's like Pythona's bones or something. I can't remember the full details, but it was like where she'd fallen down that pit and all of like Cobra La and all that kind of stuff. So there was like this kind of like teaser almost into what we all thought was going to be this G.I. Joe comic that was going to be animated, and nothing came of it. So either this is like off the back of that, or it's something different, but it's like, it's going to be connected at some point. Who knows? Because I mean, this is a 4-part miniseries, and it looks like you say to be probably deep within the earlier episodes, which I would wouldn't be averse to at all.
Yeah, I think they could do this several times over, though. Like you said, a continuing series. Of course, depending on how sales go.
I'd love an ongoing, but I think it works as a mini-series because some of the cartoons were only one and done.
Yeah.
And at the best, you'd get like a 4-parter, a 5-parter, a 2-parter. So I can definitely see this working as an almost, I don't think this term exists, but an ongoing mini-series structure. Does that even exist? It probably doesn't, does it?
Well, even the ongoings, don't they tend to have a 6-issue arc?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of trades, they do that, don't they? So I guess, you could do an ongoing and kind of keep the story fresh and interesting. But I would definitely enjoy just one-off comics. You know what I mean? Like just like one story contained in the issue.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't necessarily need a one continuous story. That isn't how the show worked.
I don't need character development for a lot of them. They're already developed. That's the beauty part of this, I think, is everyone's already kind of gone through their development. The stories are just fun, I guess. You could just go...
Yeah, it might even feel out of place to have too much character development.
Yeah, and too much of like the same thing, the same group of characters also. I think like you could really do some lovely focused almost like spotlights on certain characters that, Lowlight got it, didn't he, in some of the episodes where he would be like that one about his dreams and everything. And like you'd have the one where Shipwreck Lifeline and Dial Tone become like in charge because Cobra changed the hierarchy on the system. And that could be kind of again like things like that where you're focusing on some of the fringe but still pretty big characters in the cartoon.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential here, and it just kind of makes you feel like there was a lot of potential still with the original cartoon, and almost ashamed that we didn't get a Sunbow season 3.
Well, I'm going to like see this as the Sunbow season we never got, and I think that's a really good way of like bringing that in. I also think Buzz Dixon would be great to bring in and also do that episode, or like the issue of the episode that he wrote that never came out, if you know what I mean, that never came out as a cartoon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be brilliant. Anyway, yes, I'm so excited for this. Like I am a big Sunbow fan. I don't like it's something I grew up on. It's something I've always been very close to. So I think this is going to be brilliant, and I can't wait to get that first issue in hand. February. It's a monthly for about 4 months. Hopefully they'll all come out in time. But knowing comics and knowing the IDW release schedule, it'll probably be spaced out over maybe more like 7 months. But we'll see. I'm looking forward to that big time. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the news, Pat. That's the fewer news items we get, the longer we draw it out. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with us. Anyway, let's move on to shout-outs. And we'll start with you on this one, buddy. Any shout-outs this week? Obviously, I know what you're going to say first.
Yeah, I'll shout out to Philip, who would have corrected me that there was an opening for a Sunbow Season 3, but what I was talking about was actual new episodes.
No, I agree. Yeah, I know what you mean. There was that video was going around earlier, like a few years ago, wasn't it? Of like, was this the Series 3 intro and everything? And it was kind of like a mixture of lots of other different aspects, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was, but it probably was used mainly for like G.I. Joe the movie to air on TV.
Yeah.
In multiple parts, along with just some reruns of previous episodes.
Absolutely. But yeah, that would have been, oh God, season 3. Give me a season 3. Just do it. That's what I want to see. That's what everyone wants to see that. Okay, Philip, anyone else?
I think that about covers it for me again this week. Maybe I'm shallow and not appreciative enough of people.
You're not. You're a hateful human. I'm just kidding. What have you got anything in this week?
Probably. I've like stuff has just been showing up. I got did I mention this last week that I got this?
Oh, brilliant. You didn't mention this last week. No, Tyrannicon Rex and Autobot JP93. I love that box. It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah. You know what? That's actually become an issue for me, is that a lot of the boxes toys are coming in now are so nice that
you don't want to get them out.
I don't want to open them up. Like, part of me is just like, no, I should leave it, because he's
standing on
stepping on like a cardboard version of the truck as well. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to throw that away. Like, it's kind of awesome. And, some of these backdrops are things that are somewhat considered features that come with the things. So I just don't know. I'm very, very torn. Space is going to become an issue if I keep everything in the box. You'll just
have to get 2 and throw the other box away, and then you've saved some space. Somehow not working at all. Yeah, like I know what you mean though. That I love that box layout and everything. It's brilliant. I must admit though, I did hear a lot of moaning on Twitter, and that's what you do on Twitter, about the actual figures themselves, which is a shame. But yeah, like they look great. So I don't know what everyone's problem is. Everyone's got a problem with everything. So that's how it is. Anything else this week? Any other cool items coming your way?
No, I finally opened up that Forever Clever helicopter.
Ooh,
finally opened this.
Show us. Have you used it yet?
I have, yes, and I was kind of surprised. It does have, like, I kind of expected this string to just kind of pull out, and then I would have to rewind it in order to get it to go again. But no, it actually has some tension, and
nice.
Yeah, it's cheap. There's not a spring in there. The way that it works is there's a rubber band
nice
in the end of it.
That's actually genius.
It is. It's actually clever.
And how high does it go?
Well, why don't we find out?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have we'll have a Pat's going to set up a wide shot now.
It goes kind of in random places, so we'll see here.
I'm hoping it takes out everything on your... Yep, it took a bunch of figures off your... I knew that was going to happen.
Okay.
Who did you kill?
I killed a Chips. Well, he already was missing that part of his hand.
Let's hope so.
Oh, yeah. It's a Chips bootleg. He was missing part of his hand because there were two of them. They both had problems, and I swapped hands.
Something else flew down your back as well.
Fell behind me. Oh, PVC figures. They'll be fine.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was some of the Tick figures. They're fine.
It's just an unreleased. Yeah, it's just an unreleased prototype that just got split in half. But there you go, guys. That's how much damage you can do in your own house. Brilliant. That's cool. That's the first time I've seen it. It actually looks really nice. Like, it looks kind of fun. It actually
functions okay. Yeah, I mean, for a $5 toy to give that to a kid, just don't have him, do it next to the hard to find.
I mean, we all knew that was going to happen.
I didn't. Every other time, it's kind of gone like randomly in a direction that way. I thought that the randomness was whether it was going to hit me.
I feel partly responsible for damaging Pat's background there. Anyway, that's my bad. Right.
No, it's not your fault. It was me.
I'll take full responsibility. As always, big shout out to all the family and to my wonderful wife, Kate. Love you all very much. To my in-laws for sending me this awesome Micro Machines advent calendar. How awesome is that? Why am I always do this. I always put it... I'm going to move my mic out of the way so you can actually see it. But yeah, this is brilliant. So it is a 24 days of surprises, although they've shown you exactly what you get, so it's not really a surprise, is it? Literally every single vehicle you get is on the front here, and then you go on the back and it shows you like how it kind of flaps down, and you can create like a little racetrack. And it also kind of comes with some like little other pieces, like little kind of papercraft pieces, which you can kind of add to the track, which is really nice. So yeah, I'm really excited to bust that bad boy out.
It's 24 days. Is it 24 vehicles?
14 exclusive vehicles and 11 accessories, which is 25 things. So 25 pieces includes 14 vehicles and 11 accessories. So I guess one of the vehicles and accessories are together. That's what I'm guessing for 24 days.
That kind of makes sense. I always wish with advent calendars that you'd have a 25th day. Some you'll give me some things for every day other than Christmas. What's the deal with that?
It's like, well, you're getting presents on Christmas. No, I want a friggin' 25th, man. Yeah, I'm the same. I have had advent calendars of 25 days.
I think I've seen them before, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
But I think traditionally it's just 24 days.
Oh, yeah, screw tradition. So, yeah, that's that. Big thanks to Kenton Valley for sending me that, my in-laws. Love you guys so much. That's awesome of you. To my mum and dad in the UK, you'll be coming out to visit real soon as well, so can't wait to see both of you guys for Christmas. We kind of mentioned that before earlier when I talked about my failed trip out there. But yeah, cannot wait. It's going to be amazing. And then we're going to go travel to see Kate's family, so we're all going to get together in one massive family. Oh, and Pat, we're going to be coming through... I know it's not necessarily near you, but we're going to be coming through Ohio on the way through, so... Maybe. We'll see.
It's not far from me. If you're going to be traveling 80, you'll be going well north of me.
Well. I'll message you as you go past. See ya, douchebag. Sure. And yeah, to Brian Sauer, as always, for the awesome Tiger Force Fall graphics, which are just amazing. And we're going to be switching very soon, I imagine, to the winter graphics, Pat. We'll see how that goes. I'm probably thinking about some sort of pattern like this. What do you reckon?
That'd be cool, but you'd be camouflaged and blend right into it.
Exactly. No one would be able to see me. Just my massive face. I'd have to pull this up. I have to pull that over my face as well. It's great. I love this thing. It's like awesome. It's the best.
There's a lot of utility to it. It looks good.
It's amazing. The hood's massive. It fits over my headphones and my hat.
I was going to ask if it fits over your headphones.
Look at that. I'm leaving it like this now because it's going to take me ages to pull off. Anyway, congratulations as well to the Skeletron team for running the perfect Kickstarter campaign, obliterating their goals by unlocking every planned stretch goal and a little bit more. They finished on a whopping figure of $609,878 with a total of 1,523 backers. It was an absolute win on all fronts. And we even got to see in the end of the campaign live via our Facebook and YouTube channels. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and watched the total tick over to 600k. And then even more as we answered a lot of your questions. We are totally blown away with the pure joy and excitement of all who pledged. Cannot wait to get it all delivered now. We have more interviews planned with everyone involved in the project coming very soon. So keep it locked with the full force. I don't mean you've got to stay here. You can go and do what you're going to normally do during the day. Like, that's fine. You don't have to stay here and watch our YouTube channel until it comes up, because that would be mental. Go enjoy yourself. Also to Hasbro Pulse for finally shipping these. Akiko and Scarlet from Le Movie classified range. It has taken a ruddy long time to get these, but I'm happy that they finally came in and they look great. I'm going to be busting them out soon as well. So they actually look really good. Like that Akiko figure I've wanted since I saw it revealed. Like it's just so awesome. So yeah, cannot wait to bust open those. I think that's pretty much it for what I got in. Oh, also big thanks to Mike Horn and Cueballs for sending me a bunch of these wonderful Cueballs again. So for our competition winner, a set will be flying out to you as soon as I pull my finger out of my bum. But yeah, you'll be getting I think it was Hooded Cobra Commander on YouTube. So thank you very much. Nice. So yeah, you'll be getting a set of these lovely Cueballs. Who knows? There might be presents whipping their way over to all the Full Force presenters over the next few days as well. So there you go, Pat. I'll get you a Scarlet. Actually, which one would you like, Pat? Out of all of the four, would you like a Scarlet, a Baroness, a Snake Eyes, or a Storm Shadow?
I probably would go for Baroness. Actually,
okay, good Baroness. There you go. That's making its way to you. It's going to be either the shortest episode we've ever done or the longest episode we've ever done. It'll just be me saying, "Hey Pat, here's the weekly. Do you want a Baroness? It's yours. Bye." Yeah. So full disclosure, we just had the most horrific shutdown of Zoom. It just decided it wanted to update for both of us, and
my helicopter actually just kept going and it smashed into Zoom. So sorry about that.
Crashed into the head office. Man, that is a pretty good $5 toy. Yeah. So okay. Well, Pat, you're getting one of them. So well done.
Awesome. Thank you.
I should have made you earn it. Here's a question for you from issue 307. No, anyway, I don't think they've got that far yet. Right. So so I'll have to send these out to the rest of the crew now. I'll find out what people want. Anyway. Merry Christmas. Of course, we continue to support the LGBTQ+ community and, as always, stand fast with the Asian and Pacific Islander communities in saying stop Asian hate. We do not discriminate against any minority and want the show to be a fun and safe environment for anybody, no matter their background. And to our patrons, listeners, viewers, thank you so much. We've got even more patrons have jumped on recently, so I hope you're really enjoying the content we're putting out. And it's usually around this time that Pat would freeze. We've recorded this about 700 times and we're good at the moment. Yes, like I said, full disclosure, we have had some awful technical difficulties on this episode and we thought we lost everything, but thankfully I think we're good. And you'll find out, obviously, on Saturday whether we're good or not. Pat, thank you so much, mate, for jumping on about 6 or 7 times. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. I'm kind of swaying here slowly so that you don't worry that I've frozen.
Every time it's just Pat would be like that. And I'd be like, what's going on? Why aren't you talking to me? Why don't you say any words? And
one time I was just kidding.
Yeah, and one time, twice actually. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you did it twice.
I only did it once.
So the other times you were just being deadly still. A coincidence.
Yeah.
Why are you holding that face, Pat? What face?
Well, one time I come back and we gotta hurry up and it's just Chris eating some chips.
I got hungry. And also really depressed because it kept crashing on us and we thought we'd lost everything. But we didn't. We're good. Anyway, Pat, thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated.
Thanks again. It's always fun.
Even on the 6th or 7th try. We thought we'd have to record this whole thing again. Hopefully we don't.
I wonder if you got me saying, it's the Frozen Force Oh, no, that's not what I said. I said, it's the Frozen Full Force Weekly.
Both are great. I'm keeping both in there. You'll get another opportunity to do that, because that brings us to the end of this episode, finally. Thank you for watching the Full Force Weekly. Massive thank you to my awesome Frozen co-host, Pat, still Stewart. Still not Picard Stewart. See you next time, and as always, after 3, mate. 1, 2, 3.
Full Force!
Sorry, I thought we were going to... Oh, he's done it again! I didn't say full force. I thought it'd be funny if we just froze in position. Anyway,
let's try it again.
Okay.
And I don't know why this time I decided to do this countdown with you too.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Can't stop. Okay, one more try. I can't help myself.
1, 2, 3. Full force. He got me back, and that's fine. The froze. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.